Hi. I wanted to create this short video to review how to create your effective practices project. So I've had some questions about what to do and how to do it. So I wanted to go over that in this video. Before I start that, I wanted to give a little context for this project. So one of the things we find for infant teachers who are in the field is they're really excited to work with babies, and feel really prepared to work with babies. But they're a little bit more apprehensive about working with families and don't always feel as prepared to work with families, which is part of the reason why we have this class on specifically working with families. So, what you are doing, having completed this specialized class on working with families, is sharing what you have learned and sharing the effective practices that you have identified for working with families with other infant teachers. Okay. Infant and toddler teachers, right? Um, because many people don't have the training and background that you now do. So that's the context for this assignment. You're sharing your knowledge with other infant toddler teachers. You can share this information in the form of a poem, in the form of a letter, in the form of a graphic, in the form of a deck, a PowerPoint, Google Slides, something else, or in another creative way, a concept map, something else that you'd like to do. Um, I'm going to show you how I would do it if I were doing a deck, but you can be creative and share it another way. Um, so let's start with our week 5 and week 12 chart. I have a sample week 5 chart that's posted on Brightspace and OpenLab. And that's what we're going to use for this project. You're also going to need your week 12 chart. I don't have a sample week 12 chart to share, but you're going to need both. Okay, let me share my screen so we can look at the week 5 chart. So you are going to start here. This is our sample week 5 chart that you've done. You've taken module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. And you took the effective practices from that you identified from each module and you sorted them. What practices were similar? And you put them into categories. And when you put them into categories, you gave them a name, a label, a title. Okay. And you did that basically 4 times. You looked through all of the modules and you said, what practices, what effective practices for working with families are similar? Okay, I identified these, I gave it this name. I identified these, I gave it this name. I identified from this chart here, from this list here, these 4 columns, identified these practices that were similar, and I gave it this name. From this chart here, I identified these practices here and gave them this name. Okay, so I have the names that I gave the practices: learn about cultures, get to know families, culture and families, and communication. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to my deck and I am creating a slide deck. And I'm calling this the effective practices for working with families who have infants. You can name it something else. I put the name of the class, my name. And then I have an overview slide as my second slide. Infant teachers can effectively work with families who have infants by, um, I said, learn about cultures. I might say here, learning about cultures, getting to know families, culture and families. I might say like respecting cultures and families. I might wordsmith it a little, change the words a little bit, and using open communication or something. I have communication. Where did those words come from? They came from right here in my week 5 chart. I'm not sure I can make this, made it a little bigger. Look at this. Learn about cultures. Okay. Have it right here. Learn about cultures. I just changed it to learning about cultures, right? And I have here get to know family. I changed that to getting to know family. Okay. Culture and families. Okay. And guess what? Culture and families. Communication. Okay. And I put that up here, communication. Okay. That's where it came from. Now you're going to do the same thing with your week 12 chart. Remember, that was my week 5 chart. So, what is the title and label for your week 12 chart? You're going to copy it from your week 12 chart, put it here. So you're going to have basically 8 themes here, right? Because these are your themes or your categories from your charts. Whatever you have from your week 12 chart, put 1, 2, 3, and 4 from your week 12 chart. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. The next slide, see what it says? Learn about cultures. Look here. I said learn about cultures, learning about cultures. Okay. Learn about cultures. Okay. Remember, that's the same thing that's here on my week 5 chart, right? And now what I do, well, what does it mean? How can infant teachers learn about cultures? So explore other cultures, learn about other cultures, explore my culture background. Where did that come from? Look, that's right here. These are the practices that I sorted. So I'm copying them and pasting them here. Okay. And I'm basically saying to infant teachers, how do you effectively work with families? You learn about cultures. What does that mean? What do? You explore other cultures. You learn about other cultures. You explore your own cultural background. This is copied directly from your week, in this case, your week 5 chart or your week 12 chart. These are the practices you sorted. Here I have get to know families. And then I have these practices. Where are those from? Right here. I copied them from here. Okay. Copy text or however you have it, whatever way you've saved it, copy it, put it on here. Okay. You're going to do the same thing for the next one, culture and families. Okay. Copy these practices. Okay. And put them here, culture and families. Last for my week 5 chart is communication. Here they are. Communication. It goes on to the next page. Copy them all, put them on. There I have communication. What does that mean? What should infant teachers do? They should talk to families during arrival and departure, ask questions about the infant and family, provide family with info about what happens during the day. You learn and use the adult's preferred name. Spend time getting to know family members, right? That's what it means. That's what infant teachers should do. Then you're going to do the same thing. Sorry, this shouldn't say this here. This should be your week 12 label title. And then the practices, you're going to copy the same practices. Same thing like I did from my week 5 chart, but I'm gonna have those practices that were sorted. Okay, you're just gonna make a list of them, and you're gonna do that. You should have probably about 8 practices, maybe 7, because maybe there's some overlap. Then the last thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to your week 5 chart, okay, and you're gonna look back up here at these practices. Okay, is there any other practice here? And see, this is the first chart, the practices chart. Excuse me. Are there any other practices that fit in what I have identified as effective practices? Have I included all the practices? Remember, this is week 5. So maybe I have something, create a warm, welcoming environment. Well, maybe that connects to something I have in week 12, in my week 12 chart. Maybe I have a, a label that says be welcoming. And so maybe I want to copy that and I want to put that here where it's and say be welcoming, right? And you want to do the same thing for week 12, your week 12 chart. Look at your practices, look through all of these practices in your week 12 chart and make sure for module 6, module 8, module 9, module 10, module 11, and make sure there's no practices that don't have a place to fit or that you haven't put into the place where you want them to be. Okay, make sure that you have all your practices in their place. And then you have your PowerPoint or your deck, or if you do a letter, you have your letter, right? And if you did a letter, instead of, you know, having, bullet points or however you did it, and you could add graphics to this and all that stuff. You would just write them out in sentences, right? You could use some of the same words, and then you would just list out, infant teachers should learn about cultures. How do infant teachers learn about cultures? They should do this, explore other cultures, learn about other cultures, explore their own cultural background, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So you decide what the effective practices are based on what you identified in week 5 and week 12. Hope this makes sense. I hope this is helpful. And I look forward to seeing your effective practices projects. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Be well.